Well, the stupidity of men. Well, conditioned men, are they really stupid? Or are they victims as well? You know, men are the problem. Men are the issue. Their porn addictions are the issue, but men can also be the solution. They can be the solution. So as I'm on this road, I know there's hope. I sometimes worry a bit and fear for my own children. And I currently have a daughter who wants me to speak out to. She's 20 and she said, "Mum, I want you to speak." She said, "Share the truth." And it's hard for me to go into detail because this is a public platform, and as much as she wants me to speak, I don't want to go into all details about her life because that's her journey, but she said the managers are nasty. The managers in these places are really intimidating and nasty. And I'd say that, you know, these pimps and these business people, so-called business people, these pro-lobbyists, they've just been overcome by sociopathy, and some of them psychopathy. And this isn't going to be an easy fight, folks. It's not going to be an easy fight. But the fact that there are many more women who are sick and tired of this industry, they're coming out. They're getting out. Ones like me, and we're starting to rise, and we're starting to speak. So there's hope on the horizon. There really is. Just want people to realize that there's kind of like an amalgamation of factors that are causing women to be vulnerable in this country and other places. It's becoming worldwide. It's becoming worldwide and widespread, this whole issue. But it's so compacted in New Zealand. It's condensed, it's compacted with excuse me. The amount of people in New Zealand, we've got a population of, I understand, approximately 5 million. That's not a lot of people in this country. That's not a lot of people. And imagine the control that the government has. So the government are pro-lobbyists. Why are they pro-lobbyists? Because so to date, many of them are not pushing for the abolitionist model. They are still backing full decriminalisation, which means there's no regulations. There's no regulations around the sex industry. basically, in layman's terms, buyers can do what the F they want to do with a girl's body or with a woman's body. Or a person's body, excuse me. Even men, even vulnerable boys and men are preyed upon by these predators. So these vulnerable people, there's an amalgamation of factors to drive this industry even more fiercely. That is poverty. We have a very high cost of living in New Zealand. A very high cost of living. So that's one. That's a huge one. To live here and have your basic needs met here is almost impossible for a lot of people. To get an education, to pay for an education, that is almost impossible on your own in New Zealand. It is extremely expensive. So that's another driving factor. I personally didn't come from a very poor family. I came from quite a privileged family in comparison to my friends. Quite a step up. But in saying that, I became poor because my parents were disappointed in me and my so-called choice, which really, well, that's disputable and that's controversial. What happened when I was 20 years old, 21, and when I met my first boyfriend, serious boyfriend, who became my husband. He was South African, and he was here on a work visa. So he was very manipulative, and he was a power tripper, okay? And deep down, I do not despise or hate this man. He was conditioned himself. He was raised in foster. He was in children's homes much of his life. His mother was a prostitute and his father an alcoholic. So see how the cycle sort of continued. But long story short, yeah, sorry, I can lose track sometimes. I apologize. But so I was vulnerable to him. Oh yes. So I was ostracized and spoke down at and criticized and punished basically for the choice I made to get with him, to be with him. When I met him in Hamilton, in a Hamilton nightclub, and he was on a work visa here in New Zealand, and he was doing dairy farming. Funny because I'm here at Summerhill Farm. I'm on a farm, old dairy farm. Actually, it's a sheep farm. Yeah, so I had this reasonably wealthy family, and I was, as I had come back from South Africa, when I left this man, I had actually spoken on this before in another video on this channel, but I wanted to come back to my family after the horrors of the relationship with this man who basically, I've been told I've minimized it, but he really was a young, conditioned pimp. even if it was the willingness to be a pimp, you know. He may not have followed through with everything that he wanted to in his corrupt mind at the time, but I had been broken in, so to speak, and groomed by this man for the sex industry. So what I'm saying now and how I'm talking to you about it now and elaborating is not how I could communicate to my parents at the age of 22, once I'd had my daughter and once I'd left that abusive situation. I couldn't speak to them like I'm speaking on camera now. So how it all came out was just, I want to come home. Mum, Dad, I need to come home. I need to go get away from this man. My mum had actually witnessed a little bit of what he was like and his violent behaviour. So she saw it. But anyways, I won't go into too much depth with my family because they're going to be probably watching this and listening. But basically, yeah, in a nutshell, just being pushed like mentally, you know, just that underlying criticism and insinuation that I was now damaged, that I had become damaged, that I was dirty goods, that I needed to be punished because I had made a decision to not run from this man. But how do you explain to someone the fear, the absolute fear that you feel when you're being manipulated, when you have been manipulated, and you know that power that man has over you, that control and that psychological conditioning that man has over you? How do you know, it's like, how should I be punished for that when the accountability needed to come back onto that man and what he had done and how he'd preyed on me? And this is the issue in our culture too, in our society, is the blame is laid upon the woman for the man's violent behavior. And that is something that's an insidious type of conditioning. That's at a core level, that's at a deep level. Unfortunately, very sadly, women take the blame. You know, what did she do to provoke him? They ask. What is it that she did to provoke him? Oh, she shouldn't have been dressing like that. She shouldn't have been out at the nightclub. See, that's where I met that man, at a nightclub. She shouldn't have been. She shouldn't. Excuse me, let's flip that. Let's flip it. Flip the script, please. Because the first question that anyone should ask when a woman is exiting, when a girl or person is leaving an exploitative situation is, why him? What did he do? How dare he take advantage? We need to confront him. We need to ask him the questions. What's going on, mate? What is it that's driving you to want to prey upon this person and take advantage? So yes, I'm a little passionate about that, and that's really good, because when we have dealt with a lot of anger, it's not anger that's the problem. Anger's not a problem. It's what we do with the anger. It's the action that we take. If we suppress anger, that is a problem too. So do not suppress your anger. I encourage anyone who's feeling angry about this whole crazy issue is, how can you turn your anger into passion? How can you channel it the right way? So that is what I'm doing. This is why I started up this channel. it's just starting to rain now, so I just came to sought some shelter. Yeah, so just wrapping up because it is rainy. It's a bit cold and windy and rainy. So New Zealand's quite a poor country, and I don't actually, our economy's not exactly first world. We're not first world here in New Zealand, so that is really a main issue as to why we've got this massive propaganda infiltrating our society, is because the fact that our economy is not thriving and very strong and stable. That is a huge cause of why the pro-lobbyists and the agenda, the sex trafficking agenda, can go full throttle. Is the fact that what do young people have to fall back on? If their own families are struggling themselves, although, for example, in my case, my family wasn't struggling, but our solidarity was struggling in my family, and the understanding was struggling. So I went looking for love that I couldn't find in my own family, even though the money was there. But I was still I had so much negativity pumped into my brain, into my head, that I was a filthy bad girl, and I was broken. I had so much negative swirling through my mind and in my soul, and compounded by the fact that I had the experience in South Africa of the strip club in South Africa, and actually already done that type of work, even if it was only for about 4 or 5 days. That absolutely opened the floodgates. It opened a whole can of worms. That groomed me. So for future sex industry exploitation, me being exploited. So even though we may have we've got some, comfortably, financially comfortable families and people in this country, but the overall picture is that most are very vulnerable when it comes to poverty. So they need basic human rights have to be paid for. We've got so much homelessness here, so much homelessness. So these girls, we don't want to end up homeless. So you've got the job market, which is incredibly competitive. You've got hundreds of people, even thousands of people applying for one job. So how is this? So you see that there's an agenda here. I believe so. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you wish. But when you step back and investigate and look at the big picture and how this all comes back to the past, when you go back even further than 2003, you see what the sociopaths and the psychopaths had in mind and what their plans were for now. Now, almost every young person is involved in pornography, or they're involved in they're becoming prostituted, or they're becoming a pimp, or pimp trafficker. That's basically overlapping. It's rife. It is rife, and I know that a lot of people already know this, but it's rife. I don't know how many people can escape the clutches of this sexualized culture and the clutches of the brothels, the businesses. Did you know, I only just found this out, that now, I kid you not, I ain't shitting you, okay, on university campuses in New Zealand and Australia, there are now brothels situated on campuses for students, for anyone to walk into, to just be on campus doing their study and decide, so for the girls, for whoever, go into these campuses, go into these brothels on these campuses and make a buck, make their money in these brothels. Like, hello, on campuses, and this is where people are learning. I didn't know this until today, because I learned from an amazing organisation. I shouting out and saying hello, thank you so much, Exodus Cry. To anyone who's interested, go to Exodus Cry. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. This is how much porn and sex on demand is infiltrating our young society, and that makes me so angry. That makes me not want to give up on this work, even if it's just small steps forward on this seemingly lonely road. But as we gain more courage and the survivors gain more courage, we're going to fight. We're going to fight this good fight. I'm not going to give up, even if it's just small. And I'm not going to stop speaking. The homicide rates in New Zealand are the highest at the moment out of the other countries that have legislation where they've legalised the prostitution, but New Zealand has the highest homicide rates for prostituted persons. Yay, wow, I'm so, okay. Note the sarcasm. I'm so proud to be a Kiwi. I am so proud to be a Kiwi. Wow. Almost everyone's been prostituted, and almost every other person is buying porn and buying people. Wow. What an amazing country. Chris Luxon. Hello, Mr. Luxon. If you're watching this, sarcastically, I'm so proud to be a Kiwi. If you're watching this, Mr. Luxon, and you're listening to my voice, just know, and to other politicians, I apologise, just know that you will come up against a lot of people who are gonna start waking up, knowing the truth, and they'll start speaking the truth. I want to meet you one day. I want to meet you politicians, and I want to meet you, Mr. Luxon. And I'm gonna say, actually, you know, I'm not that proud to be a Kiwi. You know, I'm sad for this country, and shame on the pro-lobbyists, shame on the pro-sex work, which isn't work. It is it is sexploitation and shame. Shame, you know, like how can that be a wonderful thing? You and oh, how interesting. How interesting. Our the New Zealand suicide rates are sky high. Poor mental health rates are sky high. Oh, scratching my head. I wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder why addictions are soaring up sky high. Thank you. Thank you everyone who actually understands. Note the sarcasm in that spiel. But I think we should change our national anthem. Some of these words should be changed from God defend New Zealand, God help. Please help New Zealand. We need you, New Zealand. God, we need you in our country. We need people. We need men. We need the buyers to have accountability. We need the buyers to have accountability. Okay, men are the solution. They're the problem, but they can become the solution by getting help and by knowing that let's all work together. As a survivor, I don't want to work against anyone. I actually want to work with you. I want to work with buyers. I want to speak with you and I want to know your story. And yes, I have a history of being angry. An angry, bitter woman. But you guys can understand, why are we angry? Why are we angry and bitter? Well, you know why. You deep in your soul know why. Because we were exploited and our voices were suppressed. Our needs are suppressed. Our needs were not met. We were raped. We were violated. That's where the anger comes from. So I'm going to say bye-bye. Thank you for listening and watching the beautiful scenery as part of my video. I am at a public farm and it's awesome. It's a trail. It's actually a mountain bike trail. It's really cool here, except that it's raining today. I appreciate anyone who's supporting my channel. It's a little Hope for Harlots ministry. It's just small and kind of personal. All this is kind of personal, but I'm branching out and just exposing what's going on for others too, and for the survivors. Hope, that's what I can say, is just hold on to that hope. Yeah, thank you all. Okay, you take care, be strong and keep fighting that good fight and keep your prayers up, keep praying. Thank you, bye.